Well, good morning or good afternoon, whichever way you want to look at it. It's Steve Charman here from Action Coach in Birmingham with our Lunch and Learn sessions this Monday in July. Gosh, where's the time going? It's flying so quick. It's really great to have Mika Gad from Gad Corporate. What will you tell us, Mika? Is Gad Corporate Brand Ambassador. Tell us what that's all about. It's great to have you with us.
So, hi everybody. Nice to see you all on this lovely Monday morning. Nice to see the sun shining
Great,
again.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's been much nicer. Yeah, although I did have to admit it was nice to have a day on the sofa yesterday and not feel guilty because it's slightly rainy. But there we go. So yeah, I am GAD Corporate Brand Ambassador. As you can see there, we are all about being proud of your purpose. So I am I own a marketing services company, which is GAD. And we basically help small to medium enterprises achieve their goals through marketing plans. It's very easy to just kind of put together a plan of what you think you should be doing and slightly implement it and do bits here and there when it comes to your marketing. But what we do is help you create specific strategic marketing plans to achieve your goals. I also decided to use the word brand ambassador because we are not just a one-trick pony. We don't just come in, do the job, take the money and run. We're very much like Action Coach in the way that when you start working with us, you're then on our roster, you're on our radar, and my team will always have your business in their mind. We work as your little mini networkers for you, always looking for opportunities and new kind of things to seize and grab. So yeah, so we are essentially a marketing services company, but just with that little bit of added extra.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mika. And what I loved when I first saw your logo actually was that slogan, be proud of your purpose. We do a lot of work. We've done webinars, in fact, several of them on purpose, just all about your why and what purpose your organization stands for. So it's great to, I'm sure we'll tap into that as we go along. If you have any questions for us listeners, for either Mika or myself this lunchtime, we are streaming both on LinkedIn, on Zoom, and on Facebook Live. So please do put any questions or comments in the comments box below, or do ask them live on the Zoom platform as well, and we'll make sure we respond to those as we go through the webinar. If for any reason we can't respond to you straight away, I'm confident in saying either Mika or myself will reach out to you after the webinar, or indeed if you're asking questions once this is finished, because it's still accessible on those platforms. Still do reach out to us, ask any questions. Let's have a chat in the comments box, and we'll keep the conversations going long after this lunch and learn today. I loved what you said there, Mika, about plans. And whenever I talk to my clients in those early stages, I say to them, there's three things they need in their business that are critical. One is an overarching business plan, either sort of 90 days, 3 months, 6 months, but some sort of a plan in place. A cash flow forecast, so they know what money's coming in and what money's going out. And the third one is a marketing plan, a marketing strategy of some kind. And it takes me back to almost over a year ago, Mika, when we were talking, when we first went into lockdown. And I was saying to our clients, whatever you do, don't cut down the fruit tree, your marketing, because it will never fruit again. You need to perhaps slightly prune it and perhaps think about how you nurture it. But one thing you have to keep doing is letting people know that you're still there and still in business and communicating with your clients. And I guess that's all about having that marketing strategy in place, isn't it? Making sure we've got that, not just a plan, a random plan, but something specific, strategic that we know is going to work, and something that we need to adapt and improve on as we go along.
Definitely. I mean, a line that's used constantly in retail is eye level is buy level. And when it comes to marketing, that can be applied to any business. If people can't see you, they don't know that you're there. So you need to make sure that your marketing is engaging and visible and consistent. And if you implement all of those things with a nice, simple plan, one, it becomes much easier to implement because, as we know, kind of doing the weekly food shop each week is much easier when you have a shopping list. And two, it just becomes really exciting because you can see where the goal is and see yourself chipping away at it. So it gets really exciting for you as a business as well to see those goals that might seem very far in the distance quickly come into reach.
My colleagues, if they're listening, will probably smile at my next comment, Mika. But when we went into lockdown just over the year ago, I moved into a new house not long before. Thank goodness I got the keys. But I had no garden. But the garden was then put down, and we then needed to buy a lawnmower. But of course, I couldn't go out to the usual places, the DIY sheds, etc. I had to rely on online video and marketing by other organizations. And I refer back to that. I mean, I've got my lawnmower now, but it just made me realize how useful that sort of marketing can be. You don't necessarily have to go and test things and see things face to face now in the flesh. You can actually use the marketing and do your due diligence online. It's become a really crowded place, hasn't it, in some industries?
It is really crowded, and that's why it's super important to, one, make sure that you're consistent, because when it comes to marketing, the main thing via, if it's B2B through LinkedIn or B2C through Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or any of those platforms want to show you what it thinks you'll be interested in. They want to keep you on the app. They want you to be engaged. So if you're constantly like churning content out there, people are, one, more likely to see you, two, stay engaged, and then slowly start to trust your brand. I think that's what the big part of it is. You can Google now how to put up a shelf, and you will be given 500 different videos of how to do it. But ultimately, you will listen to the person or the voice or the message that you feel like you trust the most. So by having that consistent image and having that personal image that talks about your why, then people will gain trust with you and gain an emotive connection to you and your business. When you have an emotional connection to something, you really want to invest in it. And one of the great examples I use for this is Andrex toilet paper. One of their best ad campaigns ever was to put the Labrador puppies in their adverts. People immediately, one, remembered it because it was different, and two, it tapped into an emotional connection in them. They'd watch the advert and go, oh, isn't that really cute? That's really nice. And then they'd trust it immediately because there was a positive emotional connection towards that brand. People choose McDonald's over Burger King or vice versa, usually because of a childhood memory or because of some sort of comfort factor and trust factor that they feel with that brand. And that's what we try and help brands achieve through our strategic marketing plans.
What's going through my mind as you're saying that is the trust we put in other people using brands as well. Thinking about the banks in particular, I think, many of us, our first bank will be the bank that our parents bank with. And because they've built that relationship, it's also about building relationship over time, isn't it? They've built that relationship with our parents, our family members, and then that then runs into the family. So I then went to the same bank because my parents were there. I've built that relationship. I've gone in and seen them. They've got, there's a lot about trust there, isn't there, in terms of brand awareness?
Definitely. And again, people trust brands that they know and that they see the ins and outs of, and brands that are honest, and brands that are funny, and brands that are engaging, and brands that are, they're constantly holding their hand through it. It's all about adding that value. Anybody can say, buy this product, it costs X amount and it does this, and this. But that's not what people want to see. They want to have that emotional connection to that brand. So it's all about adding that value. If you sell lawnmowers, great, tell people about the facts of that lawnmower. But the brands that create trust are the brands that are also going to tell people the best way to mow your lawn, when to mow your lawn, how to look after your grass, what seeds to put out to feed the birds that fill your garden. Those videos don't really have anything to do, might not have anything to do with the lawnmower directly, but it means that they then end up learning a skill from that brand and then again trusting that brand even more. So then they wouldn't go anywhere else. And it comes from loads of things. Like, again, you support the football team that your parents support. You buy the cookbooks of the chef who taught you how to cook because you watched their TV program. It's all about adding that trust to it, not necessarily. And you can have a fantastic product, but if you don't have that brand strength, then people aren't going to trust, recommend, buy, and come back.
And as we've seen in recent years, trust takes a long time to build up, but can be wiped away or pulled from underneath you very, very quickly. I think we've seen that in the car automotive industry with the emissions over the last couple of years. All that trust built into buying from certain brands, and then various things came to light in the media, and that trust was very quickly wiped away in many cases, wasn't it? So it's important that we do what we can to hang on to that trust and live by the values in which we market ourselves.
And I think that's where planning comes into place. I think when bad decisions can be made is when they're made without much thought behind them. So they're kind of made off the cuff. I'm going to do this today. This is what we're putting out there. And that's when things like that can happen. And I think a lot of that also comes when we go into panic mode. So things like the pandemic that we've just gone through, the brands that have really thrived and become strong in this are the ones who held back, thought about their message, thought about what they were going to do, and then implemented their new plan. The ones that went off the cuff and just kind of quickly stuck something out into the media, 9 times out of 10, it came back and bit them on the bum a little bit, because panicking solves nothing. Having a real good plan in place allows you to stay calm, relax, and make those informed decisions that keep you in everyone's good books.
Yes, yeah. Well, Colin the caterpillar just came to my mind as we are talking about that. But a question from Sarah. I know you've got some slides to share, Mika, so I'll let you bring those up while we're just asking this question. She's asking, is it better to promote what we do or why we do it?
I think you have to have a really, great question, but I think you have to have a good balance of the both. So let me just start this from the beginning, bear with me. So you need to have a really good balance of both. So for example, what you do, they need to know, because that's essentially what they're going to be buying into. They need to know it. But to know your why, especially if you're a sole trader, allows people to really engage with you. And it also allows you to make sure that the people that are connecting with your content and connecting with you really vibe with you and are on the same level as you, because essentially it's going to be you that's dealing with them. So for example, if your why is I became self-employed because I'm a single parent and I have always been really into floristry and I love flowers, so I've set up my own little florist so I can fit it around my life and do something that I love. If you make that out there, then everyone who's family orientated or young families or other single parents out there will really resonate with that and want to join in on your journey and will have then that connection to you as a brand. But ultimately, if you don't talk about the bouquets that you do and the services that you provide, then people are going to be unsure what they can come to you for. So I think it needs to be almost like I always say that when it comes to social media and marketing, it needs to sort of be 50% what the business is and what you're doing. You then want to have about 20% on your why and what you do. You then want to have about 20% on added value. So adding in those videos, those articles, all kind of about your industry and what it is that you're about. And then 10% just on what I call the feel good factor and filler stuff. So Monday mood, happy Friday, it's coming home, all of these messages that just emote to someone and get that connection with them, but don't necessarily talk about your brand in any way, shape or form. That's how I would break it down.
And that last bit is really important, isn't it? To tap in, but to understand the current mood. We have all, I'm sure, I'm trying to think of examples now, but sort of seen adverts that perhaps haven't quite got the tone right of the country or the tone of the current climate.
Definitely.
So it is really important. Timing and mood is so important, and one that's often forgotten.
Yes, like definitely. I always say to people when it comes to, you can tell when brands plan their social media for the month and then don't adjust it, because they'll have something go out like, oh, it's June, what a scorcher. And you look out your window and it's absolutely pouring with rain and you think, well, they've pre-planned that. That's not necessarily the feeling of the time. So it's definitely, you need to get the emotion of that. And I have said to all of my clients through the pandemic is we haven't been doing automated posting because the mood of the country and the mood of their customer has changed overnight with one word from the government or some sort of media content. So everything has been, even though it's been planned, it might have been adapted, which we'll get into in a moment with the slides.
Yes, no, please do. No, again, as you're saying that, it just reminds me of one of the adverts from one of the main airlines. I think it was Jab and Go, and really, I think got the timing not quite right in terms of what was going on in the country at the time, and encouraging everyone to go on holiday, and yet we couldn't leave our front doors.
Yes,
Anyway, I'll let you run through your slides. I'm sure there'll be more questions that will come up, Mika.
No problem. So obviously, let me just make sure it's there we go. So I've already spoken a little bit about me, but basically this is kind of our tagline and about GAD. So we are specialists in aiding small to medium enterprises and independents with marketing support, social media, web design, and basically anything that you think of when it comes to marketing and getting your brand out there. We believe that if a brand has a clear, aligned and targeted vision, then it can achieve greatness. Stop putting self-limiting beliefs on yourself and your brand. If you set yourself goals and you spend every single day chipping about at them, you will achieve them. Quality comes from the correct image. It's about the consumer wanting to invest in a lifestyle and a culture that you have as a business, not just a product or service. So strategic marketing, what do I mean when I say strategic marketing? Because it does sound a little bit just like jargon. So basically, it's all about setting those goals, strategically planning to how you are going to achieve them, communicating that plan throughout the business. I don't know about you guys, but anyone out there who might have worked in corporate, kind of huge, big companies in the past, sometimes you can get very frustrated because they'll implement a marketing plan or they'll release something to the public and you'll be sat there and think, well, I didn't know that that was going to happen. And it just kind of gets a bit disjointed within the business. So one great thing that you need to do is communicate it. Then you implement that plan and you measure it. The big thing is measure it. You can't achieve something if it's not measured. And also not measuring it is just like putting on a blindfold and walking through Birmingham city centre. You might have in your head somewhere where you want to go, but how do you know if you're getting there if you're not measuring it?
We often talk, Mika, at Action Coach. Well, two things really. Setting goals is all about the compass in your brain, in your mind, giving you that sense of direction, isn't it? We've got to start with that end in mind and have those goals to give us an idea of how to get there, give us that sense of direction. And we talk a lot, I'm sure you will in a moment, about testing and measuring.
Yes.
Not jumping in at the deep end, but dip your toe in the water, see if it works, and then try dipping your toe in a different bit of water, or do something different and test and measure it as you go along. But that measuring is so important to get the right formula that works for you, because whatever works for Gad with you, Mika, may not work for us here at Action Coach. It's getting the right formula that works for each one of us.
Exactly. And that also means working for your consumer and working for you internally within your business. It needs to also, the biggest thing with business is having a great environment when you go to work. That's why we all started businesses, is to enjoy work more. So it needs to be for you to really enjoy it. And that's what I've said just here. It's about, think of strategic marketing as like planning a weekly shop. It makes life easier and it saves you time and money, because you sit down on a Sunday night, you think, what are we going to eat for dinner all this week? You then go, you shop to make those meals. And then every day it's really easy because you have the meal planned, you have the food in the fridge. All you got to do is cook it and put it together. But the one thing to remember is that plans change, and that's okay. Sometimes I have clients get really worried that I've said, like, right, this is what we're going to do for the month. And they're like, but what if this changes? That's fine if it changes. If you decide on a Wednesday that you actually just want to get a Domino's, no worries. We'll put the chicken in the freezer and we store it for another day. So if your content changes, if your business changes, if your plan changes, no problem. We adapt, we thrive, and we store content to reuse at a later date. Nothing's ever wasted.
Yeah. Comment from Simon here. Better to have a plan that changes than no plan at all. I love that, Simon.
Yeah, very good.
On the money.
Completely agree. Completely agree. So making space for growth. So it's kind of the best way to achieve your goals is to plan, which we've gone on about, and we've talked about a lot so far already. And I say here, like, by planning, then you don't worry about things creeping up on you, and you have the brain space then to deal with things that creep up on you. Your heartbeat is taken care of. That baseline that keeps your company running from day to day is then completely taken care of because you've planned it all, it's set in motion, and it's off. What that leaves space for is for you to be thinking of new projects, new ideas, creativity and growth, spending time with your clients, pushing your company forward. You don't want to be spending your day-to-day dealing with day-to-day admin, because that can all be taken care of in one big chunk at the beginning of a month or a year or a period. It just allows your brain to be a lot more free to deal with stuff. I don't know about you guys, but if I have lots of stuff that I need to get done, even if it's just around the house, when it's all running through my head, I can't even brush my teeth properly because my head's just manic with things. And as soon as I write a list and create a plan for the day, I can then function no problem because it's all been pulled out and taken care of. So by having strategic marketing plans in place and by planning your content and implementing it, it just becomes so much more breathable for you as a director or a CEO or a manager to be creative and push for growth.
Again, with all of our clients here at Action Coach in Birmingham, we talk to them about planning every day, but more importantly, planning on a Friday. Not for all the reasons you've said, Mika, in terms of making sure that your brain isn't buzzing, but it means you've got a clear strategy for the week ahead on the Monday morning. And as you and I have just talked about, you can actually switch off at the weekend.
Yes,
you've got that work-life balance, because we're all here because we want the best quality of life. We want to spend time with our friends, our family, our loved ones, and the business, a well-executed business, is a great tool to get there.
Yes, definitely. We were just saying how I actually had this weekend off, completely off from work. And I had a really lazy day yesterday where I could have easily picked up my laptop. However, I had my list already made for today of things I was going to tick off and how it was going to get done and my plan for the week. then it meant I could switch off because I knew that I didn't have to worry and it was all going to get done. So yeah, it's a really, really great thing to implement. So again, as we've all said before, it's about gaining trust from your customers. Teach them, tell them how you can benefit them. It's not all about sales. It's about creating a relationship with your customer. Make them feel like you want the best for them, not you. And I talk about this again a little bit in a moment, but when you look at the real successful brands like this, how they're going to improve your life. How will buying a Diet Pepsi improve your life? How will purchasing a phone from EE improve your life? So I want, with every single piece of marketing copy that you put out there, take out the word me, I, us, take it out of it. It all needs to be about you, them, and all projected onto that consumer. And you want to be teaching them, like I was saying with your lawnmower analogy, it all needs to be about giving that added content to it. The reason why people buy Bake Off branded cookery stuff is because they know and love the Bake Off, and the Bake Off has taught them things and has given them things, and X, Y, Z. Why people would buy Jamie Oliver kitchen stuff is because they know and trust him. It might not be because it's the best saucepan, it's because that's the name that they know and trust and has taught them something. So you need to put in that added value to create those positive connections to your brand, no matter what they may be.
I think it's really important, isn't it? And I think the conversation, or dare I say, the way we sell has changed a huge amount over the last 12, 18 months, hasn't it? It isn't a hard sell anymore. No. It is about relationship selling. And I would say a lot more giving and building credibility and building that relationship than it is about selling, closing the sale straight away. Is that fair to say, Mika?
Definitely. And I think one thing that we talk about a lot, so everybody's watching, we met through BNI and connections through that. And one big saying of BNI is givers gain. And it's true in every form of business. When you give something to your clients for free content, free advice, free hand-holding, then when they need to take that one step further and know that they need to invest in something, they're going to go with the person who's given it to them for free and help them to get that far. Whether it be in the case of they're decorating their house and they have done all the painting themselves, but they've watched all the videos from a certain brand of how to paint, how to look after their paintbrushes, how to implement, how to buy, how to source colors. When they then actually think, oh, this one's a bit tricky, I need a painter and decorator, they're going to go direct to that brand and see if they have any. And if they do, they would then pay for their services because they know and trust and already have that connection with them. And that's what this slide's all about. Whatever you do, if you're a beauty technician, give free makeup tutorials online, give people tips as to how to make their eyebrows last longer or eyelashes last longer. Give that free information to create the relationship with your consumers, gain that trust, and therefore investment.
I just want to highlight that other point you made, Mika. It reminds me of somebody else who had a lunch and learn a couple of months ago, and she said, stop weeing all over ourselves. We've got to make sure we talk about the consumer. So, I mean, one thing I'd say to anybody listening today is go to your website when we finish today and just look at your front page and look at how many I's and we's we've got. I think, how could you replace those with you? Talk about the consumer and the benefits they would get from working with your business.
Definitely. And you know what? It's a whole new way of learning how to speak. And as soon as someone puts that into your remit, you suddenly realize how often you do it. Even simple sentences, even saying the word, we can't wait to see you all again. You're starting it with a we. Like, you were all brilliant at the last event that we saw you at, and we can't wait to see you again. Start it with a you. Make it sure it's all about you.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So when it comes to content creation, organization, implementation, the reason I've chosen these pictures is because obviously on the left of the screen there, if you can't tell, that is me modeling for a client of mine. Next to that is a friend of mine. Next to that is another friend of mine. And next to that, it is another friend of mine. So these are photo shoots that I put together for brands who were on a limited budget. Content creation does not have to be big, wild, and crazy. Also, just to highlight, the picture on the left of me in the workout gear and the picture of the girl in the blue headband, Both of those images were taken on iPhones. So you don't need to make it too complicated. To do some real engaging content creation, I would set aside a day in your diary, ask some friends along if they want to come and help model, offer them perhaps some free services. So if you're a hairdresser, you say, well, obviously you get a free blow dry. If you make some items, maybe say, well, you can have a free necklace out of it or something, give them, or you'll take them out for lunch afterwards, something to give them an implementation to want to do it. And just get snap happy. All of these pictures as well were not taken on a hired location. We would just put on the outfits and go off on a walk into the countryside and find great places to take images. You have a bustling city on your doorsteps, or you can drive half an hour and be in the most gorgeous dog walks, footpaths, beautiful places. It's super easy to put it in there. You just need to, again, plan. And just to kind of put it into context, on the day that I did the shoot with the shotgun cartridges and we took over 2,000 images just from getting snap happy and having a really good day. Once I'd kind of cut out the wheat from the chaff, I had around 400 to 500 images. If I did daily posting, that's still more than a year's worth of content. So in one day for that brand, we created over a year's worth of content for them. And it also just all sings together because it's one photo shoot. It means that a platform like Instagram that's very visual will just look all correct and consistent through it. And it just gives you, again, that baseline. Obviously, there is other content that you can create, so videos, reels, TikToks, and all those kind of cool things as well. But it means that you can do those off the cuff and when it takes you by fancy and when you want to start doing it, because as I said before, the heartbeat is taken care of. You have that plan and those posts in place, and just really, really simple and easy to implement it. Don't worry too much. And also use the power of marketing. The image on the left of the middle and the one on the right, they were taken by a professional photographer, but he worked for free for the day in return to have his photography services massively advertised, because he is a game photographer. So he does photographs of shoot days and things like that. This is quite a big brand in the shooting world. So if we advertised his services, he would get booked for days and therefore make money. So it's free marketing for him as well. So that whole photo shoot ended up costing nothing except a few bottles of Prosecco that we had afterwards once we were done. So if you want to get that content, again, don't just put in your diary, oh, I'll do it ad hoc. I'll take a picture when I want to take a picture. Because if you've been putting that in your diary for the last 6 months and it's not really happened, it's never really going to happen. Stick a day in your diary where you will be doing a content creation day. Come up with ideas before if you want to do specific products or videos. Write a plan for your day, stick to it, and boom, you will then have a fantastic content catalog that you can pull from.
I think what you've illustrated there, Mika, as well, is you've had a fun day. You've made it a fun day out rather than onerous day with a few bubbles at the end. I've had a question from Joe. Sorry, Joe, female or male, but I'm going to broaden her question out, or his question out. He's asking, how can you create content on a budget? I think you've partially answered that anyway, but linked to that is any other advice you'd have for a new business that perhaps is limited in terms of resources or budget when it comes to creating content on social media?
Definitely. So my first bit of advice would be use some brand ambassadors, especially if content creation isn't something that comes naturally to you. If you're not a hugely creative person and you find content creation a little bit intimidating, get some brand ambassadors on board. So by a brand ambassador, I mean somebody who you would send some free product to. And in exchange for that free product, they would create content and share it for you and allow you access to it. So using an actual example to kind of give it a little bit more context, let's say you make bracelets for a living. That's your business, is you make really, really lovely jewelry. I would go onto your social media and find people, or put it out there to them. Does anyone want to be a brand ambassador? Because then if they want to work for your brand, they're more likely to do more. Mm-hmm. You would then put together a little pack for them that you would send them. Write a small contract just to say, in return for this package, we expect 1 post a week or a story a week or something like that. And then you know that you have to then do nothing but content will be being churned out for you. The other way, like I said, is just to make sure that you're planning and use the resources that you have. If you have a smartphone, take pictures on that. Even if it's yourself wearing the stuff and you've got your next door neighbor to come around and take pictures for an afternoon, then implement it that way. Put it out to your friends and family. You don't need professional models. One thing that I always say is, as well, as professional models are not relatable. These images, any of these people could be your pal, your friend, they could be you. And then that becomes really relatable of this brand. Oh, I kind of look like that girl wearing that workout gear. I can relate to her. It makes it much more attainable and relatable. So use the sources that you've got in terms of iPhones, Android phones that all have really good cameras, and use your own house, your back garden, your local dog walk, anything like that. And also just get a little bit cheeky. Ask people if you can use stuff for free in exchange that they will get access to the content that you create.
Brilliant. Just a follow-up question from Joe there, asking what should they be looking for when selecting a brand ambassador? Is there anything specific to be wary of or to look out for?
So one, you want someone who wants to work with your brand, because you want it to seem effortless to them. You don't want to have to be chasing people, asking where the content is or anything like that. Someone who works with your brand. So look for someone who already engages with your social media content, someone who perhaps places loads of orders on your website or your Etsy or your platform that you sell via, someone who is a good friend of the brand already. Also needs to be someone with quite a strong social media presence. So the larger the presence, the more difficult it might be to get them to be a brand ambassador. So if you're a smaller company, maybe look for in between 1,000 and 5,000 followers, but also aim big. I have a client who had an ideal person in mind that she wanted to be on her social media. They have 1 million followers. We emailed her every single week for 6 months, and eventually she agreed to accept a PR package off of us and post about it on her social media. So that ended up working really, really well. So you want to find people who resonate with your brand values, that their Instagram feed or Facebook feed, you like them because it needs to talk to you and make sure that that has the same kind of vibe that will speak to your consumer, and they'll create content that you're proud of. And then someone who wants to work for you.
I'm glad you just said that word values. I think that's really important as well, isn't it? Do your due diligence, do your research on individuals on social media, people on social media, and make sure their values align with what you're wanting to portray about the business.
Exactly, definitely. It has to be, you have to almost imagine when you have a brand ambassador that you're saying, we're not going to have a social media anymore. That's going to be our social media platform. Make sure everything that they're talking about and promoting and doing is something that resonates with you and your company.
Perfect. Thank you, Mika. I'm conscious we're holding up your presentation with all these questions, but it's good stuff.
That's all right. If I need to skip anything, do just let me know. So again, it's all about websites, video, images, podcasts, blogs, and more. And the reason that I've put this up there is because don't feel like if Instagram or taking pictures just doesn't really resonate with you, it's not something that speaks to you. There are hundreds of different ways that you can get content out there via your own website or others. Video is the most viewed and engaging content out there. So videos are really, really strong. Podcasts, if you don't want your face everywhere, get your microphone out and get talking. Podcasts are the new wave of getting your message out there. They're the new kind of radio. It's much more accessible for people and much more topic specific. So get yourself on a podcast, write blogs. If again, video makes you a bit nervous, then put blogs on your website about how to do the services or the products that you do. And there's so much more. It's just about getting yourself out there. So very quickly, I'm going to run through my top 5 tips, and any questions, just shout out. So number 1, as we have said before, is it's all about you. Here are 2 sentences for you. Welcome to our website. Have a look at our services and see what we have to offer. Or you could say, welcome to GAD, your new favorite marketing services website. Have a look and see if any of our services are what you need. One is all about us. The other is all about them. Same message. So it's about just adopting that language into everything that you do. Number 2 is a website. Websites are so accessible now, and they are the new kind of business card. I met someone the other day who I asked if they had a card, and they said no, they had a QR code. So they gave me a QR code that I scanned with my phone, because if COVID's done one thing, it's made us all very good at using QR codes.
Yes, yeah.
And his website instantly came up on my phone. That's how he shares his contact details and his business. And it's so, so true. It's a new business card. It doesn't have to be busy or fussy or complicated. It's just about dangling that carrot of your services. Make it engaging enough and sexy enough and vibrant enough that it makes them want to pick up the phone and talk to you about it. Number 3 is a mailing list. Email marketing is often talked about as quite a lost form of marketing, and people don't seem to do it much anymore. But it is really, really great. It's a great way of targeting specific groups of your consumers. And it's one of the top 3 demand generation and awareness activities marketers use. So build your mailing list up from zero, slowly build on it. And again, just plan those weekly newsletters. It will really, really help, I promise. Networking and partnerships. So, I haven't edited enough there, but that's what BNI is all about. So something that, again, we met through. But get your name out there. Get your name as the go-to. Get your face seen out there. Make sure that when people think of a certain product or service, that they think of you and your company. It needs to become synonymous. People buy people. So when I think of our local painter and decorator, I don't even think of his logo or the name of his business. I just know what he looks like because he did our house and we bought into him. Where did we meet him? We met him down the village pub. And it was him being so lovely and approachable that we met him. So this isn't me saying spend all your time in the pub and get to know the locals. It's just me saying make sure you get your name out there, meet people face to face. You're in the prime position to sell and promote your business when you're stood in front of someone and you can gauge how engaged they are in what you do. And then obviously social media. I know we've dabbled in it a little bit, but a modern business needs a social media presence. Make sure it's something that you relate to. If you're B2C, it might be the likes of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're B2B, it can just be LinkedIn. My business just has a LinkedIn presence because that's who we aim to, and that's what resonates with me. It's much more than like vanity metrics, likes and shares. It's something you can develop as a critical way to reach your audience and position as a brand. There are 2.8 billion global social media users, so tap into them. And with that comes daily posting. And this is something I promised I would touch upon, and this is my last point, don't worry. So when it comes to daily posting, what I would do is sit down with the month ahead of you. We have July just ahead of us. It's just started. And firstly, go on to Google Calendar. Google Calendar points out any big events that might be happening. July is quite a quiet one. I think the only event happening is Battle of the Boyne this month. But it will point out anything like bank holidays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, anything like that that you might want to implement into your plan. Then I would choose a weekly structure. So for example, Monday will be a Hello Monday post. Tuesday will be an advertisement of your product and services. Wednesday will be a Teach Me video. Thursday will be another advertisement of your product and services. Friday will be a Friday feeling. Saturday, another advertisement. And Sunday will be all about food because everyone loves food. Posting about food is engaging. Create that plan, then write it down into that month plan of July, and then plan your specific post every day. So plan what product or service you're going to put into each day. Plan what food you're going to talk about. Plan what different pictures you're going to pick for your Monday mood every Monday. Plan it out. Also use other creators' content. As long as you're giving people creators' rights. So for example, if you wanted to use a photo of mine, as long as you put in your caption, photo courtesy of @Mika, then you can use it. The worst thing that will happen is I might message you saying, can you please take that down? It happens very, very, very rarely, but you then can use any content you like. So if, for example, I look after a company that makes water butts and garden aids and things like that. So I often post lots of pictures of vegetables and flowers, and I will use other creators' photos to do that. A lot of the time, they're really flattered that you've used them. they will then reshare them, and I can then tap into all of their followers as well. So it's all about getting that engagement. Then I've also popped on here, use apps. So my top 3 favorite are Planoly, Later, and Preview. What these apps allow you to do is put images, captions, and schedules all in. You can then see how your month will look on a grid. And then every day when you're having your morning coffee, all you have to do is open the app and hit send to Instagram and Facebook, and it's done. You've already thought about your captions. You've already thought about your content. So it becomes effortless to do it every single day. So that is everything I have to talk about. So thank you very, very much for listening. Any other questions?
Well, we have got a number of questions. I've just been storing them up so we didn't interrupt you as going on. But the one thing that's been going through my mind as you were talking there is the one golden rule I say to all our clients when we talk about marketing is don't forget to ask your clients, ask your inquirers, where did they hear about you from? It's a great way just to test and measure. I was working with a client over a year ago now who owns a garage in the centre of Birmingham, and they didn't really know which marketing strategy was working or not. Now, every time somebody books into phones into book an MOT or service now, they just ask that simple question on the phone: how did you hear about us? And it's a great way, isn't it, Mika, just to test and measure what marketing's working, what's not. Did you hear about us on Facebook? Did you see us on that billboard in the centre of Birmingham? Is it on networking? You know, it's just finding out, really, asking that simple question.
It's a really good way as well. You can implement that into your website when people go onto a checkout. So ask them when they check out, where did you hear about us? We all have to fill in those boxes when we go onto various websites. Where did you hear about us? Another really good way to track it is through your insights on your Instagram and Facebook. So if you have a business Instagram or a business Facebook, if you go into settings, there is a section called Insights, and that tells you how you're growing, what's been your most popular post that month, what's really resonated with the consumer, what have they liked, what's reached the most, what has gone the furthest. So it's a way of just seeing what works and what doesn't. But as you said there as well, also ask your consumer what they want to see. Say to them, do you prefer it when we do long posts or short posts? Do you prefer stories or pictures, videos or reels? Ask them what they prefer, and then you can tailor it to them.
Absolutely. No, love the advice, Mika. I've got a question here from Claire, who's just asking, is there any difference between an influencer and a brand ambassador?
Yes. So an influencer is someone who that's kind of their job. So it's more of a job description, a job title. That's what they do for a living. You'll probably find that most influencers will ask for a payment for a post. So they will ask, the kind of a going rate is something from £250 upwards for a grid post. And that would be the exchange for promoting your business. A brand ambassador is more just someone who loves your brand, and therefore you're gifting them product because they've offered loads of support for your brand. If you just gift them something and you ask for nothing in return, they need to say that it's gifted on their social media and claim it that way. If you do have something specific that you're asking them to do in return for it, it is classified as an advert, but you won't be paying them for it. So it's just about gifting them things. The one thing that we do is seeding as well. So that is just where you send someone one package as a PR package. Thank you very much for doing something for us. Here's a PR package for you. All they then need to put is hashtag gifted as if they haven't bought it. And then it's up to them what they want to do with it. But that's why it's really important to choose people who love your brand. So if you send them a package with free stuff in there, then they're really happy and proud that they've got it and want to shout all about it to everyone that they know.
So Claire's just follow that up, which is the best way forward for small business? It sounds like Claire is influencer or brand ambassador. I
would start off with a brand ambassador because the investment is much less. You don't have to do a product and a post, and you're more likely to get that emotion across. If you're paying someone to do a post, it can come across a little bit just cold because they'll go, yep, great, done my post, take my money, thank you very much, end of. Whereas if you send someone free product for them to implement into their day-to-day life and they really love it, they'll just naturally talk about it all the time. It's the same sort of, again, with any business transaction that you do. You probably shout about your vacuum cleaner that you just bought and love and think is brilliant to your friends, a lot more than an actual business that has said to you, oh, can you make sure you tell your friends and family about us? It's just that kind of, if you naturally love something and naturally fall into it and really enjoy it, and then they give you a gift, it just makes you want to talk about them that little bit more. So to start off with, I would start off with brand ambassadors and then slowly go into influencers when you can kind of put more investment behind it.
Perfect. Thank you, Mika. And I'm surprised it's taken so long to get this question here, because it's usually one of the first ones. But Jasvir is asking, thank you for the question, Jasvir. Which social media platform should you start with?
Whatever feels most natural to you. So again, if you're B2B, then I would massively scream and shout about LinkedIn. And if you're B2C, then I would say Instagram and Facebook, purely because they work together. So if you post on one, it can automatically post onto the other one. So you're getting much bigger bang for your buck. They also have the most users on there. They have the most using, the most engagement. They are the biggest social media brands. But use the ones that find it easier, most resonate with you. If you enjoy Instagram, but you love TikTok, then go with TikTok and push it, because if you love it and you enjoy it, you'll do it more. Because when it comes to marketing, there's no point in half-arsing it. You need to just go for it and throw everything at it with the kitchen sink. So B2B, I'd say LinkedIn. B2C, I would say Instagram and Facebook. But if you love one more than the other, go with that.
And what we say here at Action Coach, Jasvir, in addition to that, is, spend 80% of your time on one platform, get it right, fall in love with it, enjoy it, but then start tinkering at the edge and start to build another platform. So, sort of when you're ready, then move on to your secondary or third, but spend most of your time on one, do it really well, enjoy it, post regularly, as Mika's been saying here, and then think about moving on or adding to it. Is that fair to say, Mika?
Exactly. And like I said to people, it's about creating that heartbeat. So if you've got that monthly plan and it's all in your app and you can just fire that out on top of it, if something really cool happens on that day, one, you can change it, or two, just add on more. I would never do more than 2 posts in a day unless something spectacular happens, like the Queen walks in or something like that. But I would just add on top of it. Then it's you're only going to be adding extra things into the mix. The other thing just on top of that, whilst it comes to it, is people often ask me about time, when they should post. And again, you can look into optimum times. You can look in when people are most active on your account. It's normally around 6 p.m. in the evening. But if posting at 5:45 doesn't work with your day, and by planning it that way means you're always forgetting, what time works for you that is going to make it consistent? If that means posting at midday, 6 in the morning, 11 at night, get it out there, because just like the guy said in the beginning, having a plan that has to change is better than having no plan at all. So having a post that goes out at an unsociable hour is better than not posting.
Absolutely agree. It's getting that balance, isn't it? Getting the regular content out there, but finding a process, a system, a way of doing it that works for you as a business owner.
Exactly.
And very briefly, I know we're sort of coming up to the end of our time, but you've mentioned podcasts a couple of times in your conversation, Mika, and I'm sure we can do a whole webinar or whole sort of masterclass on how to make a podcast, and we haven't got time for that today. But is there any sort of top tips in terms of somebody who's just thinking about podcasts?
Again, so I would get some guests on. So my kind of top 3 tips I'll go with on podcasts. We don't take too long. The first one would be make a whole series before you release them out to the big wide world. So by making a whole series, podcasts are a lot like Netflix series. If people listen to one and they love it, they might be on a long car journey or a long run or a long dog walk. They might smash out 3 or 4 in one go. So make sure you make a whole series before you release it to the public. And 6 episodes is a really good number to start with. Tip number 2 is I would start it with a pilot. So something that is 1 minute, 2 minute, pushing 3 minutes long, just explaining what your podcast is about and what they can expect to hear over the first series, because the first episode might not resonate with them, but episode 4 might. So by saying in that pilot episode to start off with, we're all about talking about hairdressing, and we have got XYZ happening through this series. In episode 1 we talk about this, in episode 6 we talk about this, so stay tuned to learn X, Y and Z, so on and so forth. You're more likely to grab them for a few more episodes. And then my final tip would be to pull on guests that will pull in listeners. So if you are working with some brand ambassadors that have a lot more followers of you on Instagram, ask them if they'll pop along and be a guest on your podcast. It gives them another platform to advertise what they do and talk about themselves, because that's ultimately what everyone likes to do. But it also means that they'll probably share it on their social media platforms and get a much higher engagement to it as well. It also adds another element. Listening in on a conversation when there's two people sat on the bus talking is much more interesting than listening to someone talking on the phone and you only hear one side of it. So conversations are a much more engaging way to get more listeners on a podcast.
Absolutely. The thing I love about podcasts on a personal level, and when I'm talking to my clients, is you can listen to podcasts in a variety of different ways. Whether you're at the gym on the treadmill, whether you're driving down to pick your kids up from school in the car, having that podcast on in the background is a great way of getting your message across and reaching a different audience, perhaps that you wouldn't otherwise have got through to.
It's the same with video, podcasts more so, because you can do more when you're listening to a podcast. But I always say to people, when people are reading a blog, you can't do anything but read that blog. Everything that you're doing has to be around that blog, but you can have a podcast on in the background or a video on in the background whilst you do your ironing or clean the house or walk the dog or anything like that. So they're a multitask platform, which means a lot more people engage with them.
Absolutely. So there's some great tips there from Mika Gad at Gad Corporate Brand Ambassador on how you can improve your marketing. Some great ways to think about think about how you can implement daily posting to create engaging content and to turn your marketing plan into a sales generation. And we've talked a lot about planning, but it is really important to have some sort of strategy and plan in place. If you haven't, you know what I'm going to say next. Reach out to Mika. Her contact details on the screen. Mika, what does that first conversation look like, that first point of contact?
So it's a no obligation hour phone call where we talk about what your goals are and simple ways in which we can work together to make sure that we achieve them. So it's mainly about me learning about your business, learning about what your goals are, and giving you an honest answer if I think that I can help. If I can, I will then give you sort of 3 or 4 proposals as to how Gad can help you.
Perfect. That sounds like a great place to start. So if you're thinking about marketing and thinking you need to do something more with your marketing, have a plan in place, or perhaps you've been drifting along like the tumbleweed in the wind, but not quite sure which direction you need to be going in, Mika would be a great place to start. Have that 1 hour, as I would call it, discovery call, that 1 hour conversation to see how your business is aligned. I mean, what I would say with any, it's a bit like coaching. You've got to find the right people to work alongside. So you might have a conversation with Mika and find actually you don't align. You might come and talk to me and find you don't align. I would be surprised, but it's about reaching out, having those conversations, and then seeing what opportunities are for you to work together going forward. So please, I would encourage you, if you've been struggling with your marketing or feel you need to give it that sort of what's the right word I'm trying to say, that steroid injection to get it back to where it needs to be on track, then contact Mika at Gad Corporate Brand Ambassadors and she'll help you with that. Mika, you're going to say something, I think.
I was just going to say, and also if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I was going to share my link, but if I'm honest, Mika Gad is such a unique name. I'm the only one on there. So if you just type that into LinkedIn, you can connect with me there as well.
Perfect. And I have no idea how many Stephen Charmans are. I know there is a heating engineer out there and a priest, I think. But anyway, one of 3 maybe, who knows. But I'd also love, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you are thinking more generally, you'd like some support and advice around your business, whether it's marketing or whether it's the finances, whether it's about destination planning, whether it's about having that business plan or systemizing your business, I would love to have a conversation with you. Either myself, one of my colleague coaches here at Action Coach, again, very similar to Mika, would happily have that complimentary discovery call to have a chat, see how we can support your business, see how we can work together, and see what opportunities there are to take your business to the next level. So please do reach out to either myself or Mika, and know that there are people out there, particularly if you're in your first few years of business, who're coming out of lockdown, having to pivot your business. We're here to help and support and make sure that your business not just survives, but thrives long into the future. So that's what Action Coach and Gad Corporate Brand Ambassadors are here to do. So thank you for listening to us this Lunch and Learn. If you're listening to us, as I said at the very beginning, if you're listening to us on YouTube or on Facebook later on this evening, as you're on that treadmill or as you are picking up the kids from school, please do still reach out. Please ask any questions, connect with us on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and we would love to have that conversation with you. But for now, stay well, make the most of the week by having a plan in place. If what we've been talking about is what sort of giving you a bit of anxiety about, well, I haven't got my post sorted, well, now's a great time to eat that frog, to get a plan together on the Monday, so you've got something ready for the rest of the week. And if that means picking up the phone as soon as we finish this lunchtime, then please do make contact with either one of us. We'd love to have that conversation. But for now, Mika, thank you so much. One of these days, it'd be lovely to meet you in person. I know we've only met online, and that's the world we live in at the moment, but who knows what's going to be announced tonight. We may be a lot nearer to meeting in person than we think, but it's been, yeah, absolutely. It's been great seeing you, meeting you, and thank you for what you've shared with us and all our listeners this Lunch and Learn. And we look forward to catching up very, very soon.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was lovely to speak to all of you.
All right, everyone, take care, stay well, stay safe, and we will see you on Wednesday for our next Lunch and Learn with us here at Action Coach in Birmingham.